Diese Konferenz wird nun aufgezeichnet.
Good afternoon, dear members, industry colleagues, and respected speakers. A hearty welcome to all of you to today's web seminar on Automation in Manufacturing, a Gateway to Growth for Indian Automotive and Machine Tool Industry, organized by the German Engineering Federation, VDMA, along with DNA Consult Advisory. We hope all of you, your family, and your colleagues are all safe and doing well. I am Ishan Bhandari, based out of the Bangalore office of VDMA, and will be taking you through the session. Before we continue, we would like to remind all of you, for optimal viewing experience, select the View Active Cameras button on the top of your screen. Turn off or mute your microphones, as in keep it in the red sign, and please post your questions in the chat box below. You could continue to post all your questions during the session under the chat box section, and they will be answered during the last leg of the web seminar during the Q&A session. Next slide, please. VDMA, the German Engineering Federation, was founded in November of 1892 and is the most important voice for the mechanical engineering industry. VDMA represents around 3,300 mostly medium-sized companies, making it the largest industrial association in Europe, with its members contributing to 78% as exports, amounting to 232 billion euros worth of production. Recognizing the early significance of India as a future market for the member companies, India was the first overseas office among the BRIC nations. VDMA is the only German industrial association having well-established offices in India since several years, with offices located in Noida, Kolkata, Mumbai, and Bengaluru. Next slide, please. The topics of discussion for today's web seminar will be as follows. We will first have the welcome address by Mr. Rajesh Nath, the Managing Director of VDMA India, followed by an address from Mr. Manfred Auster, the Consul General for the Consulate of the Federal Republic of Germany in Kolkata. Next, we would have a small presentation from Mr. Prasad Mane, the Senior Vice President and Practice Leader of DNA Consult Advisory, then followed by the question-answer session, and finally, the closing remarks. Next slide, please. It is my honor to introduce Mr. Rajesh Nath, Managing Director of VDMA India. Mr. Nath has been the synonym and face for VDMA in India for almost 20 years now. He has more than 3 decades of experience working in various industries in Germany and India. He is accorded the Cross of Order of Merit, the highest civilian award from the German President for promoting Indo-German trade. With no further delay, I will hand it over to you, Mr. Nath.
Right. Good afternoon, friends. Thank you, Ishan. A hearty welcome to the web seminar on automation in the manufacturing, a gateway to growth for Indian automotive and machine tool industry, being organized by the German Engineering Federation, VDMA, along with our partners, DNA Consult Advisory. I extend a warm welcome to Mr. Manfred Auster, Consulate General of the Federal Republic of Germany in Kolkata. Welcome, Mr. Auster, and nice to have you with us today. I also extend a warm welcome to Mr. Prasad Mane, Senior Vice President and Practice Leader, DNA Consult Advisory. Friends, as the world emerges from the grip of COVID-19 pandemic, business leaders from various sectors are strategically focused on risk factors that would affect their companies in the future. As a solution, automation offers this opportunity to reduce cost and boost the industries post the pandemic. The industry is witnessing a shift to new solutions and business models, wherein manufacturers leverage embedded digital capabilities to make informed business decisions based on product and environment behavior. Just as cars are evolving into smart products that are connected and can be self-diagnose potential issues and can be repaired via software upgrades instead of a traditional mechanic, industrial machines are also tracking their performance and delivering insights that are useful for the manufacturers. Digital manufacturing is a part of the larger wave of Industry 4.0, and integration of industrial processes with the Internet of Things. It blends manufacturing with evolving IT systems, including artificial intelligence, virtual reality, which allows the entire production line to be monitored in real-time basis through sensors. This saves costs, increases quality, shrinks the production development cycle, and manages the process right up to e-commerce and logistics. Artificial intelligence, AI, is poised to disrupt our life, with intelligent machines enabling high-level cognitive processes like thinking, perceiving, learning, problem-solving, and decision-making, coupled with advances in data collection and aggregation, analytics and computer processing power. AI and automation presents opportunities to complement and supplement human intelligence and enrich the way people live and work. It is going to be the new job creator. According to Michel Mandel, the chief economist at the Progressive Policy Institute, the world has been focusing on the razzmatazz of technology. Old-fashioned manufacturing is going through an exciting transition. We are moving from a linear supply chain world to a much more adaptable Internet of Goods with a new manufacturing stack akin to the Internet stack. To receive investments and build an advanced industrial base that includes the SME sector, India must develop new skills, processes, and products, and most important, upgrade its academic, research, and vocational sectors accordingly. India already is halfway there. Its global IT service sector, while currently export-focused, can use its talent domestically to develop models for data analytics. This is the most difficult part of digital manufacturing, marrying machines with digital tools to analyze the data. As per Cisco India, SMB Digital Maturity Study 2020, the digitization of small and medium enterprises, SMBs, could add US $158 to 216 billion to India's GDP by 2024 and contribute to the country's economic recovery post-COVID-19. The study shows that SMBs that are more digitally mature enjoy twice as many benefits in terms of revenue and productivity compared to those that have an indifferent approach to digitalization. Further, the study highlights that 68% of Indian small and mid-sized enterprises seek to digitally transform to introduce new products and services, differentiate themselves from the competition, and grow, while 60% recognize that competition is transforming and they must keep pace, and 50% seek digital transformation due to customer demand for change. Further, a shortage of digital skills and access to talent and lack of necessary technologies are the top hurdles for small and medium business enterprises in their digital transformation journey. Mr. Amitabh Kant, the CEO of Niti Aayog, said artificial intelligence has become a strategic lever for economic growth across nations and will continue to be one of the crucial technologies of the future. By integrating new technologies like artificial intelligence and machine learning into various sectors, we can radically leapfrog and catch up with advanced economies. According to him, the investment of rupees 7,000 crores announced in the union budget towards an artificial intelligence will lead to approximately 1.3 times increase in artificial intelligence intensity, translating into spillover benefits of approximately 3.2% increase in India's GDP. The need of the hour is to adopt baby steps in automation, which can generate a faster return of investment and can be implemented without high capital expenditure. For example, the human and machine interaction through collaborative robots provide a cost-effective, flexible, and safe automation solution for a wide range of production tasks to help solve labor shortage, increase productivity, and improve product quality. I'm sure the presentation today from Prasad would highlight many of these aspects, including smart manufacturing and its application in the automotive and machine tool industry. Before we go to the presentation, it is a proud privilege for me to welcome Mr. Manfred Oster, the German Consul General in Kolkata. Mr. Oster came to India in September, and on behalf of the German Engineering Federation, all our members, as well as all our attendees, we extend a warm welcome to you, Mr. Oster, and wish you a successful tenure in India. I would now like to briefly introduce Mr. Oster. Mr. Oster has been serving the Federal Republic of Germany as a diplomat since 1991. He studied law at the Freie University in Berlin till 1986. At the German embassy in Kiev. He has also served embassies in countries such as Australia, Hungary, and Canada. The prestigious posting of Mr. Oster was to NATO in Brussels. Before joining the German consulate in Kolkata as the Consul General, Mr. Oster served as the German ambassador to Haiti. So we look forward to your address, Mr. Oster, and welcome to the webinar today.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Nant, und guten Tag an alle, die uns zuhören. Just some German words were necessary in this one, I guess, and you will excuse me for doing that. But I know that many of you are capable of speaking very fluent German, and that there's been a long tradition, particularly in your industry, between India and Germany. So that's why I thought it is most appropriate that this is my first kind of web video conference that I'm attending after taking up my position in Calcutta, in the city of joy. Was very joyful to come here. Unfortunately, with the corona situation, there are some limits on what we can do in meeting personally, but I'm sure that we will come to a possibility for that in the future. I'm hesitating to say in the near future, because we are still not so sure how the things are going to develop and how the situation will improve. But nevertheless, I think that will give great opportunities to us. Mr. Knight, you have very eloquently reminded us of what this all is about, and how industry, in particular also the German machine building industry, can play an important role in that. And I think that as far as the economic relations between India and Germany are concerned, your organization is very well placed and has been very well placed over decades now to foster these relations. And what I can humbly do to support your efforts and your connections with Germany, I'm more than willing to do over the next 3 to 4 years that I'm probably going to be serving as a Consul General of Germany in Calcutta. As you might know, I'm also have the privilege to serve not only for West Bengal, but also for 10 other of the Union states that I adjacent, apart from the 7 sisters, which I'm not going to name all, because that takes a little bit long of your time. It is Jharkhand, Bihar, and Odisha. So ample opportunity to meet in these places and to try to continue in improving the situations. Mr. Nat, you have asked me briefly to touch upon the COVID situation in Germany, and I'm happy to do that. Happy as in I'm accepting that call. Not so happy when I look at the recent figures, because we have just today we have registered the highest number of new cases ever of COVID in Germany. We have had more than 6,600 cases today alone. We had that's the first time that the peak that we had in early April was topped. It is true, however, that we also have increased quite heavily on the number of cases that will be tested. So we are now at about 1.1 to 1.2 million tests a day in Germany. And forgive me that I'm not yet so familiar with crores and lakhs that I just give you the million in our counting and numbering system. But I promise to get better in that over the coming weeks. So 1.2 million tests a day. But what is more reason for concern is that also the positive rate among these tests has risen quite considerably. By the end of August, it was 0.74% of those tested that tested positive, and now we are at 2.48%, almost 2.5%. And that is quite an increase. So with 341,000 cases in total since the beginning of the epidemic, we are in a situation that the government is taking more steps. And as you might well know, when you are dealing with Germany, we, like India, are a federal state, and all the health measures are within the responsibility and the purview and jurisdiction of the states. So in each of the cases, it is something where they are trying to coordinate the lead of the center or the federal government, but it is up to the states of Germany, the Länder, to implement that. So the latest is that they are going, and that might interest you in a way, even though we don't have much of travel opportunities to go to Europe from India at this moment. They have agreed to come for a framework setting as far as travel to Germany is concerned. And when you come into Germany now from a test or a risk area, and most of the countries of the world are now in that category, then the principal rule is that you need to do a 10-day quarantine when you're coming into Germany, and you have the possibility with a negative test after 5 days to leave quarantine. So that is the proper thing. There are a number of exemptions from that. The only one that might be also of interest to the listeners and viewers today is that when you're in transit in Germany, then you don't need the test and you don't need to quarantine, but the transit will be one without a stopover other than a technical one. So you would be at the airport and not leaving the transit zones there. So the situation is like that. In my hometown, Berlin, it is even more severe. Severe also in the sense that restaurants and bars now have to close by 11 p.m., which is unheard of in Berlin, because Berlin has always been famous not to have any restrictions and no closing hours for the restaurant and bar industry. That perhaps in a nutshell the current situation. We see it also in other parts of Europe. Madrid, where my daughter is studying, is also on a lockdown. The British have announced more measures in more cities. Paris is now on a curfew at night. So Europe, that had done quite well over the summer, now is in a situation where we have to be concerned. The reason for that is probably in behavior of people. There's a certain COVID fatigue among people. They don't like to wear masks anymore. And though that is still only a small minority of people, it is enough to really spread the virus. And with that, I want to close and simply say that with the festive season coming up here in India, I do hope that people might be more responsible than we are currently seeing it in Europe, that they are going to really enjoy the festivities, behave, and still not spread the virus by wearing masks and doing the measures that are asked for by the authorities. Thank you very much, Mr. Nard, and I'm really interested in listening now to the seminar. And once again, I'm looking forward to meet most of you at possible meetings in the very near future. One final comment: I was tempted to greet you as gentlemen. I do hope that there are some ladies listening and participating in this as well, even though I know that the engineering profession perhaps is one where there is still a gender gap that we have to overcome. Thank you, Mr. Nand.
Thank you, Mr. Oster, and thank you for also giving us an overview on the present scenario of COVID in Europe and in Germany. I think it is a little bit of a concern, although when we compare with the figures in India the number of cases per day are in the range of 70,000 to 80,000 cases. So I think it is still low, but as you correctly mentioned, it is a sort of a return, which is, I think, the worrying factor. And as you correctly mentioned, I hope with the festive season coming up in India, people are more responsible here, and we follow the guidelines, also the COVID guidelines in India. Thank you, Mr. Oster, and I think we are very privileged that we have had the opportunity to have you at your first official interaction with the German industry and with many of the industry colleagues. So thank you very much for sparing your time and being with us today, Mr. Oster. And on myself, on behalf of VDMA and all my colleagues, we look forward to continuing the good cooperation with you and your colleagues at the consulate in Kolkata. So thank you, Mr. Oster, and I would now request my colleague Ishan to take it forward and introduce Prasad.
Thank you, Mr. Nath. It is my pleasure to now introduce Mr. Prasad Mane, Senior Vice President, Automotive and Industrial Business Units, DNA Consult Advisory. With over 20 years of experience in the automotive industry and management consulting, Mr. Prasad Mane has worked with blue chip companies like Audi, General Motors, Mahindra & Mahindra, and Frost & Sullivan. In his role as Senior Vice President and Practice Leader of Automotive and Industrial Business Units, Mr. Prasad is responsible for growing DNA Consult's consulting business in the global markets and to fulfill clients' plans of business growth as a trusted consulting partner. I now hand it over to you, Mr. Prasad.
Thank you, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. In this webinar, we'll be talking about the future of manufacturing automation and its role in the growth of Indian automotive and machine tool industry. Next slide, please. Let us look at the rise of automation since past 8 decades. So from PLCs and DCS to mechanized manufacturing to usage of CNC machines, and then in 2000s it was Asimo, a robo by Honda on the shop floor, and then now we are talking about Industry 4.0. So Industry 4.0, it's all about it's all about the IoT. It's all about the big data and how explicitly we use the IoT and big data for taking decisions, and I would say more informed decisions. And as we look forward to 2030, the next decade is all about lights out manufacturing. So it's going to be fully automated, no human presence on site. So I think if we see the history, automation have been there on the shop floors. It's just the pace of technology and the pace of technology adoption has been increasing as the days are passing, right? And there's a reason we are quite positive that automation in industrial manufacturing is here to stay, and it is going to be perceived as the go-to solution for improving the productivity, profitability, and performance, thereby you meet customer expectations. Next slide, please. Sure. So if you see the transformational shifts which are going to reshape the future of manufacturing industry globally, so here is edge computing. So edge computing is all about speed, location optimization, and security. So edge computing helps to get the data instantly as the edge architecture is located closer to the source. Now, in manufacturing parlance, it is production line basically. So in brief, the data is processed near its origin. and hence the speed of operations, speed with which you source the data and analyze the data, it becomes an enabler for you to take an informed decision. So be it operator, machine operator, supervisor, or the line manager, he or she is able to take the decisions instantly. Second is connected manufacturing ecosystem. All of us, we know we are in connected economy. This is a era of technology. So here we are talking about entire manufacturing stakeholders, manufacturing systems, and manufacturing organizations connected with each other, so that there is a seamless flow of data, seamless flow of energy, and numerous cycles interacting and interconnecting different parts of the machines, different stakeholders by functions, by divisions, by processes. So that's about connected manufacturing system. Digitization, as all of us know about the augmented reality and the AR and VR. So it's going to really help us in visualizing the real life shop floor situation. AR or VR devices allows an operator or a training operator equipped with plant data and procedures to experience and any issue that may occur on the shop floor. So the moment you know in advance what is going to happen on the shop floor, respect to a machine, with respect to a process, you are better equipped to take a decision. Talk about artificial intelligence and machine learning. First, machines are loaded with sensors, and the sensors are built inside the machine, and these sensors actually provides continuous feedback throughout the manufacturing supply chain. AI can be actually used very effectively in two areas, of course, to ensure quality performance, and also to bring the highest quality of yield output, production output. And we these days we talk about the predictive maintenance. Predictive maintenance always helps us to take decisions with respect to any machine uptime. If we sense any machine downtime, then what kind of strategies we can actually implement to correct the situation. So AI is all about quality, yield, in reducing waste, increasing throughput. That's how the technology is seamlessly getting integrated with the shop floor activity. Cobots, collaborative robots, basically they are working in tandem, in combination with the human efforts on the shop floor. So they actually provide very safe, versatile, and easy to use automation practices. Talk about cloud-based SaaS. ERP have been there almost 2 decades, or 2 decades now. Now, when you talk about cloud-based data sourcing, you're talking about anyone without having any qualification in IT, without having any sophisticated knowledge of IT. He or she can always access the data and take decisions. So that's the advantage of cloud-based SaaS. Additive manufacturing, all of us know about the conventional manufacturing process, where you actually produce a component by removing the layers of material. Additive manufacturing is actually takes the production to the next level. Here we are adding the layers of material and producing the 3D object. 3D printing is one example of additive manufacturing. So this is one new technology. This is going to really reshape the future of manufacturing industry globally. And at the center lies the data. All these activities, or all this technology is coming onto the shop floor for what? Basically, it is about the data transfer, file transfer, video streams, and a manager or a line manager or a production supervisor, he or she is able to take decisions. So here we're talking about data-driven decision-making ability, which actually makes the line manager job simple. I would not say simple, but yes, convenient for him or her to take decisions. Next slide, please. Yeah. Can we go to the next slide? Yeah. So IoT. So IoT, Internet of Things, is very critical to success of manufacturing automation. Let me take you through the IoT 0.0, IoT 1.0, and IoT 2.0. So IoT 0.0 is Internet of Things, but today we talk about intelligence of things. So when we talk about intelligence of things, we are talking about the entire manufacturing supply chain being connected, use of smart devices, use of artificial intelligence, augmented reality. These are all cognitive tools and practices which are being used on the shop floor because of IoT 2.0. I would quote an example of quality assurance. earlier days, we had, and of course now as well, we have quality control manager, quality control supervisors on the shop floor. And IoT 2.0 is going to only enable these managers and supervisors with real-time data, which will actually help him or her to optimize the process efficiency. So that's about IoT 2.0. So Internet of Things and intelligence of things is going to be essential enabler in achieving faster adoption of manufacturing automation. Next slide, please. Great. So we talked about data, we talked about connecting the manufacturing ecosystem, but what is important is the network, infrastructure. So if you see the historical progress of the connectivity, it all started from 1G, 2G, 3G. We are in 4G era, and everyone is excited about 5G and its benefits. So if we talk about benefits of 5G, it's a magical tool because it will reduce the latency almost less than 1 millisecond, right? And that's a 10 times decrease in latency over 4G, 20% reduction in energy consumption, absolutely nil downtime with 10 times higher reliability. And it is expected that by 2023, more than 2.6 billion machine-to-machine devices will be connected, will be available on this planet. So what is important is that 5G networks on factory floors are going to come in the coming decade, and that will actually help us to realize this dream of increasing productivity, increasing performance with the help of automation technology. Next slide. Industrial Internet of Things. We spoke about IoT. Now, here is a very, very unique term, Industrial Internet of Things. Because in the industry, on the shop floor, we always had machines, and then with the advent of CNC, people started talking about industrial computers, and now they're talking about Industrial Internet of Things. So let's look at the next slide and see how the IIoT is playing its role. Yeah, so if you see the pyramid here on the right hand side of this pyramid, industrial thing, so you have lots of transmitters, sensors, motion sensors, temperature sensors, pressure sensors, flow level position sensors, and they are working in tandem with the actuators and the transmitters. And there are platforms, for example, the control and monitoring systems, supervisory control and data acquisition systems, that is SCADA, and predictive maintenance. So I think the hardware is in place, and if we see the controllers, that is DCS, PLC, and of course the operators working remotely, operators working in presence on the shop floor. I think today operator has got all these tools available on the shop floor in front of him or her to be able to take informed decisions. So IIoT again is an enabler to take informed decisions and reduce that now wastage, or reduce that element of wastage or element of production downtime, machine downtime, and help improving the productivity of the business. Can we go to the next slide? Great. So let's talk about the manufacturing automation in Indian context. So as I mentioned that India have been demonstrating its capabilities in manufacturing automation over three and a half decades now, since when we started using CNC machines on the production shop floor, be it for the high-tech product, or be it for the mass production, or to a certain extent in the batch production environment as well. So we have been using the PLCs and HMIs, that is programmable logical controls, which is an industrial computer, and the human machine interface. So that this trend has been there in Indian manufacturing context already. SCADA mainly in the process industry, oil and gas industry, or the food and beverages industry, where the process efficiency is of utmost importance. There you have these supervisory control and data acquisition board, right? So there's a control panel and control room, and the entire process is being monitored. And if any damage or any issue or any concern in the process, there's a red flag, and it helps the manager to take an informed decision. ECS and electrical drives. Let's take an example of a factory manufacturing organization where there are different divisions. There are process units, strategic business units. There are compartments by assembly, by production type, by part type. So the DCS, the distributed control system and the electric drives are allocated to specific functions, specific divisions, specific processes, and this is more of decentralized control system basically. So the power and the control is distributed as per the function, as per the processes. I think in Indian context, we have been seeing this to a large scale, and definitely we have capabilities. Just that we now scale it up as we adopt the technology at a faster pace. Let's go to the next slide. Thank you. If we see Indian automotive industry, so there are three things. And Manohar, if you can please use laser. Yeah, thank you very much. So PLC and HMI. So here is your conveyor control panel. And if you see the conveyor, which is, yeah, that's right, conveyor control panel. And on the right-hand side, you'll have a picture of the conveyor assembly, correct? So this conveyor assembly is very smart. So it actually detects the obstacles. It is connected in the network, and it is controlled by the control panel, and the control panel is operated by a human. If you see on the right hand side, you'll find that there are a lot of benefits: multi-touch functionality, easy to use, and very important point is that you don't really need a skilled manpower, a skilled workforce to operate these conveyors. You know, the learning curve is very low for the users, so it's very easy and convenient. So that's this kind of system have been there in Indian shop floors already. If you see the SCADA system, there's a control room, and you can see a car on the shop floor. So the control room where the manager or the supervisor is monitoring the shop floor operations, and here is the operator on the assembly line. So this is actually integral part of the MES, manufacturing execution system, and it is the entire software and the hardware is connected at the enterprise level. So what is the benefit of it, of this SCADA system is it is real time. So you can actually get real time data. You can have effective control, and you can monitor the processes in real time situation. And of course, it will help you to improve the production output. If you see the DCS and electric drive, so you have a control room down there, and the motion control system. So that's a control room, yes. And the motion control system towards its right. If you see the automotive test rigs and machine shop operations are controlled. So there are two different operations which are being carried out. So inspection on the test rig, right, and the machine shop operation, like let's say welding or drilling or milling. So the DCS actually is dedicated to each function or each process, and the respective control room basically, they supervise this. And what is the benefit? Again, here we are talking about one common thing, that is higher output, increase in efficiency. So the automation on the shop floor in different forms is helping us to achieve that ultimate objective of higher productivity, which translates into precision quality as well, because when you are achieving higher production volumes, it's very also important to justice to the quality. And since robots or since machines are involved on the shop floors, so the human error element is removed from the entire system. So and that's the reason I say efficiency and precision in result output and quality. Let's go to the next slide. Great. So we spoke about robots. So robots now these days in Indian context are used for painting, conducting the painting operations, welding operations in the press shop, and in material handling and assembly. If we talk about painting, see, very important again. The wastage of material is a big concern for anyone working in the paint shop, and since robots are there, paint robotic paint application, it significantly reduces the material waste. And when you reduce the wastage of material, that means you are actually saving cost, and that is helping you to improve the productivity and profitability. Welding, yes, welding is very important to achieve the higher quality welds at any point in time. It should be a more consistent operation, and that's the unique requirement of any welding operation. It should be sustainable, it should be durable, and it should give you consistent results. That is possible with the machines. Press operations. Now, press shops, if you go to press shops, you'll have higher tonnage press operations going on in the press shops, and that's in hazardous environment. So robo can actually help you to increase the worker safety by preventing accidents. And as I mentioned earlier, the speed of operations and precision is the unique characteristic of any robotic instrument. Material handling and assembly, this has been there. Earlier, we used to use industrial forklifts or electric forklifts. Now, we are talking about robots, pick and carry robots, pick and place robots used for handling the shop floor items. So, and assembly, of course, for assembly, you need material to move from one point to another point. So that's where the robots are being used. Great. Can we go to the next slide? Fantastic. So let's see if Maruti Suzuki. So Maruti Suzuki has 5,000 robots in its Manesar and Gurgaon plant, and basically these robots are being used for welding, painting, and press shop operations. Hyundai, more than 500 robots, for robots, which are being used for quality and testing capabilities. Tata Motors for framing and welding activities, both at its Sanand and Pune plants. It's a fully automated welding process with the use of robots. And Mahindra and Mahindra in material handling and assembly. So their Marazzo or XUV300, Nashik, and other plants of Mahindra and Mahindra, 70% of its body shop work is carried out using robots. Let's go to the next slide. So how technology actually changing, right? So when we talk about the automation, we talk about the automation tools, automated processes. We are actually aiming for performance, higher level of performance, high productivity, of course, positive profits and customer satisfaction, right? But we also need to think about three factors which could actually could halt the entire process. One is, of course, high cost of technology adoption. So equipment cost and software cost is high when it comes to bringing automation on the shop. The initial investment is quite high. Awareness, yes, you do require a skilled manpower when we are talking about handling robots or talking about handling CNC machines. So I think lack of information is one area which we need to face. All of us together, we need to address this. Conducting seminars, conducting workshops, and conducting trainings for the shop floor workforce is very important, so that they're equipped with the right set of information, a right set of data, and there is no damage on the shop floor. And of course, the new technology. So you all of us have been seeing that technology is changing at a rapid pace, and we're talking about desktop computers. Now we talk about laptop. Now we talk about iPad. So I think every day there is a new technology. There is a new smart device coming in front of us, right? So how fast we adopt this technology, that is also going to be crucial, because the rate of change in technology and the rate of adoption of that technology, I think there's still a gap, right? I think all of us have got that responsibility to bridge that gap so that we successfully implement the automation tools and technologies on the shop floor. Sure. Let's go to the next slide, please. Okay, so there are two takeaways from this slide. One is, of course, manufacturing automation we can leverage to reduce the product life cycle and bring down the time to market. Now, let me give an example. If you see today in Indian automotive industry, take any brand, multiple brands, they have got multiple product lines and they have got multiple variants within the product line. So one vehicle would have maybe 20, 30 variants, and customer is demanding. Customer wants everything yesterday. So if you really want to bring down this time to market, then it's very important we automate the processes. We actually help our managers, we help our operators, we help our supervisors with the right set of technology, with the right set of information and data points. I think that is possible with the help of automation. Let's go to the next slide. Yeah, I spoke about this Industry 4.0, digitization, 5G, smart factory, robotics, artificial intelligence, and IoT. So how well we actually standardize the usage of this technology, right, and integrate with the shop floor operations, that is going to decide whether this manufacturing automation is going to help us or not. So seamless integration of these technologies with the shop floor operations is what is the biggest task in front of us. Let's go to the next slide. Let's talk about machine tool industry. As all of us know that India is 12th in the world in terms of consumption of machine tools, and there's a lot of machine tool manufacturers, even in tier 1 and tier 2 cities of India. The machine tool industry has been on the rise because of the manufacturing base and the world's leader, whether it is automotive companies or the consumer electronic companies or the pharma and healthcare companies. They look at India to produce high quality output and mass production. So machine tool is definitely at the heart of this ecosystem. And today we are talking about use of CNC machines, use of tools in the machine tool scenario. And automation is going to be a key enabler for the rise of machine tool industry as well. Let's go to the next slide. Great. So if you see the line, Make in India. So Make in India actually is a great tool for us to leverage. And recent announcement of 100% in contract manufacturing only opens the door for all small and medium enterprises, SMEs, or the big companies and the large giants in manufacturing organizations, right, to take the automation to the next level. Because of 100% FDI, what is going to happen is that India is going to compete at the world level, which already is doing when it comes to two-wheeler industry, tractor industry, construction equipment industry, or automotive industry, passenger cars and commercial vehicles. Right. So the onus is on the manufacturers now to get to the next level, because the investors would expect India to produce products which can compete at the global level in terms of performance, in terms of the standards of quality. Next slide, please. Okay, so in machine tool industry, there are two operations which are critical: metal forming and cutting. So metal forming and cutting are the, I would say, basics of any manufacturing activity, right? On the production floors. And main focus areas which we can actually focus to improve upon is the material utilization. As I mentioned earlier, that wastage of material is a bottleneck in any manufacturing activity. So material utilization and speed of operations, development time and cost. So when we talk about development time and cost, we're talking about how quickly we can actually design a fixture, how quickly we can actually design a die, right? So that the product can be, at least a prototype can be produced, and then necessary quality testings and certifications can be put in place, and then ultimately that can be commercialized for the production and can be produced for commercial sale as well and take to the market. So I think development time and cost is one main focus area, and absolutely accuracy. So we're talking about the precision in output, so accuracy in development of metal work pieces. These are the four areas which we need to focus on when it comes to metal forming and cutting. And if you see the middle blue box, it talks about the IoT tools, Industrial Internet of Things. So first is your live remote assistance, LRA. So what it does basically is connects the machines, and there's a control center. So machines are connected, and there is a remote diagnostic tool which is available, which actually helps to communicate with the machine. And if any issue or in concern, it is detected remotely. And of course, that is with the help of transfer of files and videos and chats and whiteboards. So what is important again here is the seamless integration and transfer of data. So LRA is again a very effective tool which machine tool industry can actually implement in the ecosystem. Then app-based control interface that features a smartphone. So everyone is carrying smartphone, and this only helps us when I say us, I'm talking about the entire ecosystem, the entire stakeholders like machine operators. They can actually prepare, optimize, and process production jobs. There's an interface with the CAD CAM and ERP systems. The ERP, which is actually integrated, have an interface at the enterprise level. So with the help of this app, which is again accessible to your smartphone, you can control these processes. Let's talk about OEE, that is overall equipment effectiveness. So if you see the third point, which is link equipment of different machine types using various CNC controls, right? So this is one tool which a manager can definitely use, so that the factory utilization and the overall equipment effectiveness can be achieved. Uh, Real-time machine process monitoring and data management solution. So here it's a tracking tool, basically. The condition of the machine, performance indicators, here includes the status and utilization, so on and so forth. So these are few IoT tools which we can effectively use to leverage the technology. So automation technology can actually help us in predicting failures, wrinkles, spring back reaction to material saved through blank nesting analysis. So I think this is the era of technology, and we need to be really aware of these technologies. How can we really use this technology effectively in a smart way to achieve our production goals and objectives? Let's talk about future of manufacturing automation. And future is absolutely exciting. If you see the next slide, you'll find that machine-to-machine connectivity, we are already talking about it. It is going to go to the next level. Robots, we are already talking about it. We'll have robots with vision systems, natural language processing, digital factory, twin technology, real-time optimization, and factory scheduling. I think this is where the manufacturing industry is going to go through and go to. And we call it as cognitive. Future of manufacturing automation is very smart and very clear. Let's go to the next slide, please. Yeah, so I spoke about the digitization, and the example of digitization is digital manufacturing. So here we're talking about factory automation, M2M interface, smart supply chain. Go to the next slide. Okay, so let's talk about factories of the future. So today we are talking about human to machine interface. Now we are going to talk machine to human interface. So predictive analytics, encryptions in data packets to enhance the security, automatic capturing of data, modeling and optimizing the production system. I think that's where the future is, and we are going to the trend is going to shift towards end-to-end communication. Let's go to the next slide, please. Okay, so India's rising story here. We're talking about 25 to 30% of GDP coming from manufacturing sector by FY 2030. So today we are at around 14 and a half in FY 2020, and we are going to talk. We are going to touch 25 to 30% coming from manufacturing sector. India's manufacturing sector definitely has potential to reach 1 trillion by 2025. That's a big number. Very important point which India should leverage on is India is a young country. Over 60% of its population in the working age group below 35 years. And this is the working group, and this is the age group which is tech savvy. And I think actually it complements very well for India to adopt this technology. So there is nothing that we are going to lose our jobs. It is just that we need to be aware, we need to be informed so that we can use this technology for our own benefits. Investments, as I mentioned, that 100% FDI is already announced in contract manufacturing, and I think that's an opportunity for us because we can actually enhance our processes, product offerings, variety of products, quality standards at global level. So I think Make in India is definitely a big and strong platform for all of us to adopt technology. Let's go to the next slide, please. Convergence, industrial output, scale up, growth, and manufacturing base means more jobs. So that is what four functional benefits of manufacturing automation. Very positive. I would focus on the last box here. If you see manufacturing base means more jobs. So when we talk about automation, we feel that there are going to loss of jobs, and the robots will take over on the shop floor. It's not like that. Where the automation or where the automated tools and technology is used is basically for doing repetitive jobs. So less repetitive jobs are definitely done and needs to be done by the workforce. Next slide. Great. So here is Indian manufacturing automation market. So we have two boxes here, software and hardware. So software is manufacturing operations management, human machine interface, and SCADA. And hardware is all about sensors, PLCs, HMI, servo, laser markers, safety light curtains, and robots. If you see the two charts here, the columns basically. So 3 billion is what industrial manufacturing automation market today is. 2019 numbers. 1.2 billion coming from software and 1.8 billion is hardware market. And DNA Consult estimates this market to reach to 7 billion, so almost double in next 10 years. 3 billion coming from software and 4 billion coming from hardware. So the message is clear that here is going to be growth story for Indian automation equipment market, Indian automation software market, both software as well as hardware market. Let's go to the next slide. Well, if you see the breakup of manufacturing automation equipment, that is hardware market, I mentioned PLCs, sensors, drives, robots, all of these are hardware, part of hardware basically. So 2019, the breakup of 1.8 billion is like this: 550 coming from automotive sector, 350 coming from consumer electronics sector, 250 from pharma and healthcare, and 650 coming from 650 million coming from food and beverages and other industries, which also includes the machine tool. Now, DNA Consults estimates that this number of manufacturing automation equipment market, this hardware market, is going to touch 4 billion in the next 10 years. So, of course, the automotive industry, everything, two-wheeler, four-wheeler, three-wheelers, passenger cars, commercial vehicles, going to be the biggest contributor, almost 1.5 billion coming from automotive sector, followed by consumer electronics, and then pharma 600 million, and machine tools and other industries 900 million. So the message is again very positive that awareness on contactless processes will definitely give rise to automation opportunities, and India is a market to look forward to because the supply chain bases are getting shifted from China and other countries to India, and I think the automation is the way forward, and all of us actually should look forward to contribute to the automation opportunities that India offers in our own way, in whatever role we are playing. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Queries, you can always reach out to me. My email ID and numbers are there.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Prashant. Thank you for the very detailed and comprehensive presentation. I think you covered a lot of topics in this presentation, talking about Internet of Things, Industry 4.0, smart manufacturing, and also how the automation industry in India would develop in the future. So I think a very comprehensive presentation, Prashant, and thank you for this presentation. We also have some questions coming in. Yeah. Maybe my first question I would like to address to Mr. Oster. Mr. Oster, there's a question from the audience. They are asking if you could just, the visa issue, Mr. Oster. It is unfortunately a very important issue, even in this COVID times, especially with students wanting to go to Germany. So would you just take a minute to give the present status, Mr. Oster? How is the consulate handling the visa issue presently?
Yes, I can do that. Not necessarily a topic that that fits the title of this session here, but very briefly. Sadly enough, we had to close the visa section for 10 days because of the Corona crisis. They will reopen on Monday next week. All the appointments that have been given out will be rescheduled, and we will be in touch with the people concerned. We will directly be in touch with them, so that means that they don't have to queue up once again and start the process just from scratch. That's what we can do at the moment. And the VSF, I think that's the abbreviation of the Visa Facilitation Service. They are continuing with their work. So yes, there has been unfortunately the necessity to close down for 10 days. But again, the good thing is that we're going to reopen on Monday next week. And so I do hope that the people concerned can just then get their visas as soon as possible after that without going through the whole process again. Thank you.
Right. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Foster. Prasad, now there are a couple of questions that have come relating to, you mentioned about automation entails capital expenditure. Now the questions, couple of questions, related questions have come that for the MSME sector, Prasad, especially in this period of crisis, how can they look to adopt automation in this COVID crisis period, Prasad, and especially considering that it entails capital expenditure?
Absolutely, very relevant to the current situation. Anyhow, if you see manufacturing automation, there is going to be initial investment. So even in current situation, and if the situation improves, the equation remains the same. That initial investment is going to be high, but we need to actually apportion this over a longer period of time, because it's a trade-off. You invest now and then you look at your production goals, production objectives, that is reduce the product life cycle, reduce the time to market. And in MSME, specific to MSMEs, what I foresee is that if you focus on niche products, or if you focus on one or two product lines, and then bring automation context in that situation, that is one or two product lines, and not only the variety of products. But then if you focus, let's say fuel injectors, or let's say lube oil pump, just to give an example, right? And focus on one or two or three specific products and bring automation there, and look for the mass production. I think over a period of time, maybe 4 or 5 or 6 years, of course we need to make a business case for that, develop a business case for that. But this initial investment definitely can be traded off with the reduced product life cycle and specifics on the on product lines, one or two product
lines. Right. And if I may add to that, Prasad, we generally advise the companies to look at some simple forms, baby steps, as I call it, for automation, trying to automate certain critical operations rather than undergoing the complete gamut of automation, so that the ROI, they can get a faster return of investment through some critical processes that could be automated. Yeah, sure. Then, Prasad, actually you talked about data, and we know that with machines being connected, we are actually generating a humongous quantum of data when we are talking about Industry 4.0 or interconnected systems. Now, the data is, we call it structured data, then there is unstructured data, there is mixed form of data also. However, Prasad, generally they say that hardly 20% of this data is actually utilized, and the remaining 80% actually is not utilized. So although we are collecting a lot of data, but we are not really able to draw benefit from this data, Prasad. So how can this be improved? Because unless we are able to utilize the data, all the efforts to collect data are actually to some extent nullified, or the whole usage of data is very limited.
Absolutely, I agree with you. So I think that is a culture which we need to develop, basically, because you have a lot of data, but the way you look at the data, and of course there is quote unquote priority, right? So when you talk about the priorities in something, and you look at the data which is actually critical to your operations, your business, then we need to actually start developing that culture, that mindset, that yes, data can help me, and data will give me will help me to take actions, and this is an actionable insights which we can draw. So I think it's all about culture and the mindset which we need to develop. Otherwise, as you said, and the data can be all over, and if we don't prioritize the data, if we don't actually structure the data and look at what we want from the data, and if your end goal, your vision out of the data is clear, then I think it's possible to focus what we need to achieve.
Right. And then an important aspect also, Prasad, when we are talking of Industry 4.0 or smart manufacturing, is a certain skill sets. So people have asked, there will be a change because the normal worker would have to be skilled. If, for example, we are talking about artificial intelligence, we are talking about augmented reality. So do you foresee that happening? What steps are we required to skill the workforce to be able to handle these processes, Prasad?
Yeah, correct. So I have a different viewpoint here. So if you see 1990s, where we had Fanuc control machines and Hitachi already were there on Indian shop floors, right? So the machine operators working on, see, this is very user friendly. So interface is designed in such a way that you don't have to really know entire technology. You are just using it. From, if you see from user's point of view, yes, we need to be aware, we need to be trained on this, no doubt about it. You need to have a basic qualification, could be 12th standard or basic English you need to know. But it doesn't mean, for example, in case of AI or AR, you are not programming, you are not coding. So there's someone else who is coding. So he or she already knows about that technology. So the programmer or the architecture person, he has already studied what is the profile of an end user. So what I feel is that if you see AR or VR devices, you need not be super qualified or need not be a double graduate in engineering to use those devices. It is very user friendly. Of course, the degree of awareness required for operating a control panel of a conveyor, operating a control panel of CNC, and operating a robot would definitely differ. Correct. So the learning curve would be different. But I think basic knowledge, basic communication should be good enough to operate these smart devices, and that's where they are very convenient.
Right. And Prasad, you have extensive experience in the automotive industry. Maybe what I would like to ask you is, what level of automation or adaptation of Industry 4.0 do you find in the automotive industry in India? If we were to classify it as a beginner, intermittent, or expert phase, where would you rate the companies in India with respect to Industry 4.0 readiness, Prasad?
Absolutely. So if I give you a few statistics, so the Indian automotive industry is the third largest in the world when it comes to usage of robots, using robots for carrying out certain manufacturing operations. So, and the population of robo in Indian automotive shop floors is not more than 7,000, maximum 7,500. So if you see the numbers, yes, we are nowhere. Actually, we are beginners, right? But if you see that the penetration of robots in the world, right? So there are not more than 75 per unit. So India is still third. So if we see that entire globe needs to actually go to that scale. So I would say that India is somewhere in intermediate stage, and still long way to go when it comes to robotic applications. When it comes to PLCs and when it comes to servos and drives and controls, we are there. I would say we are experts, because that industry is more than 2 billion, 2 billion, year on year. So I think we are there. But when it comes to Industry 4.0, I think we are somewhere between beginner and the intermediate stage.
Okay. Maybe my last question to you, Prasad, would be that when we are talking about Industry 4.0 or we are talking about smart manufacturing, now there is a general perception that although a lot of data or information is available in the shop floor, however, this information somehow gets lost and is not transmitted to the next level, because at the shop floor, perhaps the management has not really explained the importance of this data. So how can this process be improved, Prasad, so that whatever data is collected, we are able to really utilize the data and it just doesn't get lost?
That's right. I think we need to have an inclusive approach here, because gone are the days back in 90s or 80s or early 2000s, we had a set of operations to be carried out by a set of people. Right now, everyone is using smartphones, so everyone is actually included in this smart ecosystem. So what you have observed here is right. So I think the days are changing. I would say that let's develop a culture of recognizing that data can help you. So that is very, very important. Let's develop a mindset that data driven decisions will take you closer to the accurate accuracy, basically. So let's develop that mindset. And third thing, I think we need to be very open. So I think this is an open economy now, so that concept we need to bring on the shop floor as well. So open ecosystem, so everyone is included and everyone is made aware of here is the input and we estimate that output should be like this. So whatever training you need to give between input and output, you process that in your minds, right? So I think what is important here is that let's develop a culture, let's develop that attitude towards data being important to take decisions, informed decisions, basically. And also let's include everyone in the learning process. I think there are three takeaways. If you ask me, I feel that it's very important for us to have an inclusive policy on the shop floor.
Right. Thank you, Prasad. I think very valid points that you've mentioned here. Maybe the last question of the day to Mr. Oster, if you allow me one question, I just wanted to ask you is, in Europe, Mr. Oster, we have seen that various countries have adopted various regulations to travel. So are we looking at, is it still going to be a little different policy in each country, or we are looking ahead at sort of a uniform travel policy for the European Union, Mr. Oster? Yeah.
Well, what I said about Germany and the federal system is also true for the European Union at this stage. So that health is one of the issues that lies within the competence of the member states of the Union. That means that the European Commission, as the executive of the Union, can only so much coordinate and make proposals for a common approach, but they don't have jurisdiction in that case. So what we see is that the home ministers, the home secretaries of the member states come together with their colleagues of the health portfolios and discuss these things. But the Commission has made it very clear that they want to avoid what we had seen at the beginning of the pandemic in Europe, that there are numerous different kinds of approaches to it. So what they are trying to propose the kind of common approach and saying we set clear benchmarks from which onwards measures have to be taken. But they don't want to do it in a way that one size fits all, or all over the European Union we will have the same kind of measures at the same time in place. So again, the idea is that where it's necessary, yes, but where the situation is of a milder outbreak or where you have less cases to deal with, that there the situation can be dealt with differently and in a more flexible kind of manner. Again, we are not there that this is a law. These are recommendations by the European level, and we will have to see and hope that the majority of member states, better still, all of them, are going to follow them. Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Oster. I think we have the same, somewhat similar issue in India also, Mr. Oster, with the various state governments imposing different regulations in each particular state. So that makes traveling not so easy, especially when you're talking about international travelers coming to India. Yeah. Thank you, friends. With that, I would like to conclude, and I would like to thank Mr. Oster for joining us today. Mr. Oster, thank you very much for sparing your time to be with us and to address questions relating to visa and the European Union travel guidelines, and to Prasad for the excellent presentation and covering a very wide range of topics, Prasad. And
you.
I think the two sectors you mentioned, automotive industry and machine tool industry, both are very strongholds of the Indian manufacturing sector. And you could say the backbone of the Indian manufacturing sector. I would also like to thank all our members and the industry friends who have joined. We had a very good participation today. And thank you very much to all the participants. Let me conclude, friends. India is at a decisive point in its journey towards prosperity, and it is time to make the next steps. The economic crisis sparked by COVID-19 could spur actions that return the economy to high track growth and create gainful jobs for 90 million workers by 2030. Letting go of this opportunity could risk a decade of economic stagnation. As the world continues to stop the COVID-19 outbreak, it has become clear that automation technologies will be needed as humans and machines work together. Automation is an essential key for organizations to overcome the pandemic crisis. Its enhanced capabilities help organizations to occupy a place of sustainable prominence, reduce costs, and boost their growth amidst the competitive world. Businesses that prioritize investing in automation technologies will excel now and stand stronger in the face of future disruptions. So with that, friends, stay well, stay safe, and make your business resilient and risk tolerant in the future. So thank you everyone for joining us for this webinar today. Thank you. Have a nice evening. Thank you, Mr. Oster. Thank you, Prasad. Goodbye.
Thank you. Thank you.